Offstage as much as on stage, rock and roll has always been a cacophony of sound. The situation became much more chaotic when reports started circulating that Ozzy Osbourne had passed away. The news spread like wildfire, shocking fans and prompting an outpouring of tributes. Then Gene Simmons appeared out of nowhere, came forward to tell the truth. He was a longtime friend of Ozzy's and a rock icon in his own way. What he said did more than put an end to speculation. It prompted more investigation. Were people being led astray? Why was the story's trajectory so rapid? What is the Prince of Darkness actually up to, though? From an immigrant to an icon, Gene Simmons. Few could have foreseen the life that Gene Simmons would lead, a life that is now associated with wild rock and roll spectacle, black and white facial painting, and spectacular stage performances. Simmons was born Chaim-Witz on August 25, 1949, in Haifa, Israel. He was a small boy before he became the fiery, blood-spitting character known as the Demon. Immigrating to the United States with his mother transformed his formative years, which had been impacted by humble origins and a distinct cultural background. His journey from a New York City youth to U.S. citizenship was a watershed moment that set the stage for an outstanding career. The legendary rock band Kiss, which Gene Simmons helped form in the early 1970s, is widely considered to be among the most influential in rock music history. Simmons was an integral part of the band's creation alongside Ace Frehley, Paul Stanley, and Peter Criss. Worldwide, audiences were enthralled by their electrifying performances, elaborate stage makeup, and several personas, such as Simmons' legendary Demon appearance. As a phenomenon, Kiss transcended the realm of mere bands. Simmons and his bandmates set a new standard during a period when rock music was already undergoing fast change by introducing an unprecedented level of spectacle and performance. Kiss was a household name by the mid-1970s. The 1975 live CD Alive was a huge hit when it came out. Then in 1976, Destroyer came out right after. The band's meteoric rise to fame, from cult heroes to mainstream superstars, was fueled by these albums. In addition to managing the band's commercial empire, Simmons had a pivotal role in developing the band's sound. Under his direction, Kiss became one of the most merchandised bands ever, demonstrating his keen marketing acumen. On a wide variety of products, from comic novels to lunchboxes, the band once again stunned the globe in 1983 when, during an MTV broadcast, they removed their makeup live on national television. A bold step was made. The distinctive facial paint had been so ingrained in their persona that some worried it may herald their demise. Simmons, though, and the rest of the band viewed it as a fresh start. They proved that Kiss could weather changes while remaining faithful to its essence by showing their faces, which signified the beginning of a new chapter. The bet was successful. While remaining distinctively Kiss, the band continued to travel and make records in response to the changing music market. The reunification of the original Kiss band for a huge reunion tour in 1996 was a watershed moment. For diehard fans, it was a throwback to simpler times when the band was at its best, dressed in full costume and with makeup. Simmons' capacity to read and react to cultural moments was confirmed by the tour's commercial success. Not only was the music important, but so was providing the audience with an unforgettable performance. The reunion proved that Kiss was still relevant all these years after the band formed and further cemented the legacy of the founding members. With their 2001 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Simmons and the rest of Kiss were bestowed with one of the greatest accolades bestowed upon the music business. Their trailblazing achievements to rock music and pop culture were recognized during the induction, which celebrated their effect on musicians and fans of all generations. Never one to turn a blind eye to fame, Simmons wholeheartedly embraced the spotlight. That the band he co-founded had made such a lasting impression on the business was formally acknowledged. However, Gene Simmons was never one to settle for a one-track career. His 2004 solo album, Asshole, had a contentious title. Just looking at his name gave you a clue about his brazen nature and tendency to provoke. His record reflected his fearless character. It was honest, unvarnished, and very intimate. Simmons showed no signs of wanting to depart quietly with this publication, regardless of whether fans liked the content or the way it was delivered. He persisted in his creative pursuits, experiments, and boundary pushing. Participated in the British reality show Rock School from 2005 to 2006, when he showcased his talents. In this one-of-a-kind series, he brought his flamboyant personality into the classroom in an effort to teach kids how to play rock music. Shown on the broadcast was a new side of Simmons, one that blended his trademark bluster with a mentoring role. Although there were some bumps along the road, it showcased his openness to connecting with younger generations and expressing his love for music in unique ways. He then let fans into his private life for a few years on Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, which ran from 2009 to 2012. Simmons revealed the real man inside the mask with the help of his long-term girlfriend Shannon Tweed and their children. His responsibilities as a parent, partner, and businessman were revealed as the show delved deeper into his public persona. Despite the show's tragic moments, it managed to humanize Simmons unlike any other production. A man with actual relationships and obligations lay underneath all that stage presence. After seeing an opportunity in 2012, Simmons couldn't resist and helped start the Rock and Brews restaurant group. Alongside Paul Stanley and several business associates, rock enthusiasts and regular diners alike were drawn to the venture's laid-back vibe, tasty food, and musical selections. Rock and Brews, which now has sites all around the U.S., was just one more way Simmons used his celebrity into a successful business. It wasn't merely a matter of fond memories. Making something that can be maintained and used by many people was the main goal. As further evidence of their enduring cultural influence, Kiss were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in. That the band's musical achievements and their role in American entertainment as a whole were acknowledged was an extraordinary accolade. While there, Simmons reflected on the ups and downs of the band's history and thanked the fans who had stuck with them. Many people already knew what the recognition confirmed. Kiss was more than a band. It was an enduring legacy. Simmons moved on to another creative project a year later. He established the horror film production business Erebus Pictures in 2015. While some may have been taken aback by the decision, Simmons's longtime admirers saw it as yet another milestone in his dogged quest for artistic growth. It was inevitable that horror would captivate him given his penchant for theatrics. Erebus Pictures marked a turning point in his career. They combined narrative, setting, and the dark flair he was known for. The contentious moments involving Gene Simmons. Despite Gene Simmons' indisputable status as a rock hero and cultural icon, his life has been characterized by a string of scandals that have provoked both popular outcry and intense media attention. Despite his fame and fortune, Simmons has a history of causing controversy, either on purpose or unintentionally, and the fallout from these incidents has often extended well beyond his performances. Some of his admirers have panned his remarks and behavior, particularly when they cross the line into what many find to be inappropriate or insulting, while others have praised his fearless demeanor and lack of apology. In order to grasp the breadth of Simmons' public existence, these awkward times are necessary. The 2014 interview in which Simmons made an insensitive comment regarding mental health was one of the most severely criticized instances. A comment he made about depressed people should just end their lives set off a furor on social media and in mainstream media. Supporters of mental health, fans, and other famous people all thought the statement was harmful and completely ignorant. In response to the criticism, Simmons tried to put some distance between himself and the comment and offered public apologies. Some took the apology seriously, while others thought it was late and insufficient. Talks about celebrity accountability keep circling back to the tragedy. After an episode in 2017 that crossed the line from eccentric to gross misconduct, Simmons was permanently banned from Fox News just a few years later. Several accounts state that Simmons stormed into a staff meeting, undressed to reveal his chest, and made sexually explicit remarks about pedophilia and violence. In a swift and decisive move, Fox News severed all business relations with Simmons and banned him for life. Those who had thought of him as a clever media figure were shocked by what happened. Something that was formerly considered a touch of defiance went too far, causing concerns over the boundary between performance and accountability. Simmons was embroiled in more severe sexual misconduct claims that same year. A lady sued him in 2017 after she said he touched her inappropriately during an interview. A comparable incident involving a different accused lady of improper touching surfaced in 2018. One of the instances was allegedly resolved out of court, even though Simmons denied the claims. His public persona took a hit throughout these legal battles, which came at a time when the #MeToo movement was drawing attention to sexual harassment and assault in the entertainment business. Simmons' detractors said that her previous actions, which were frequently accompanied by sexual bravado, might have added to an unavoidable culture of laxity. Personal behavior isn't the only area where Simmons has made contentious comments. Many people have also taken issue with his public views. While Simmons has been outspoken in her support of rock, she has been just as quick to dismiss other musical styles, most notably pop and hip-hop. He has said that rap will eventually die out and has been quick to cast digital downloaders as the downtrodden heroes who will bring down the music industry. His views, which were a reflection of his commitment to classic rock principles, turned off younger listeners and performers. His tone was frequently condescending and inflexible, painting himself as an outsider unable to change, rather than initiating a conversation about the development of music. Simmons has a reputation for being someone who isn't hesitant to publicly vent their frustrations, thanks in large part to his feuds with fellow musicians. His feuds with Ace Frehley and the rest of Kiss's former members go back a long way. In interviews and on social media, accusations, insults, and counterclaims have played out, exposing followers to rehashed drama. Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue was also embroiled in a high-profile feud, with the two sides trading insults that crossed the line from professional animosity into open hostility. These feuds have painted Simmons as a polarizing personality in the music industry, which may be entertaining to outsiders, but has hurt Simmons' reputation among his peers. Many people thought Simmons exhibited the height of hubris in 2017 when he made a move that made news. He sought to register the Rock On hand gesture as a trademark. It has long been a symbol of rock culture and is frequently utilized by both fans and artists. People reacted angrily to his assertion that he had originated the gesture. Some thought he was trying to cash in on a part of music fans' shared culture. The incident made a lasting impression, but the application was finally dropped. Many saw it as proof that Simmons' once-respected business acumen had gone completely berserk. Critics have also voiced their disapproval of Simmons' conduct on live television appearances, such as reality shows and interviews. His sexually suggestive and offensive comments, especially toward the female participants, have gotten him in trouble on multiple occasions. Some dismissed these occurrences as just part of his inflated personality, while others felt they were out of place in the more responsible media of today. His time as a guest judge on Dancing with the Stars was the target of these criticisms. Some of his remarks regarding the female dancers were deemed creepy by viewers, which sparked arguments on what is considered acceptable behavior in entertainment. Also, activist groups have taken issue with Simmons, mostly because of his tough position on music piracy. He became a target of the hacking organization Anonymous after making threatening public statements toward persons who illegally downloaded music. The group's response, which included cyberattacks and public censure, was to portray him as an emblem of corporate avarice within the music industry. Simmons thought he was protecting intellectual property rights, but his aggressive tactics turned off many fans who saw him as putting money before art. In the process of trying to preserve his work, he ignited a cyber war that made him seem like a villain to many people on the internet. Ozzy Osbourne's comeback tour hits its last leg. Rock lore abounds around Ozzy Osbourne and his career, oftentimes very personal, very loud, and very unpredictable. However, the Prince of Darkness's untamed exterior belies a history marked by revolutionary successes, devastating setbacks, legal disputes, and widespread rebranding. Gene Simmons's recent remarks have piqued the public's interest in Ozzy's health, so it's fitting to reflect on the incredible life of a guy who was instrumental in the development of heavy metal and who, despite insurmountable obstacles, never ceased growing and changing. On December 3, 1948, in Marston Green, Warwickshire, England, John Michael Osborne came into this world. This man is known as Ozzy. He had a rebellious attitude and a unique voice because of the struggles he endured as a child of a working-class household. Black Sabbath, one of the most groundbreaking rock bands of all time, was formed when he started playing with local Birmingham bands in the late 1960s. Ozzy, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward were instrumental in developing a new kind of rock music that broke away from the blues-based rock that was popular at the time. What came out was a style that would be known as heavy metal, heavier, darker, and more raw. Paranoid was released the same year as Black Sabbath's self-titled debut album in 1970. A movement was defined by these records, not merely by their success. A generation disillusioned by politics, social change, and conflict became anthemized by songs like Iron Man and Conflict Pigs. Ozzy was the face of a band that was changing rock with his theatrical stage presence and haunting vocals. The fans were enthralled, even though there were others who were critical of it. Along with the band's rising star power, Ozzy's public persona also rose, being known for its success and genius. However, the relentless pursuit of achievement started to wear people down by the late 1970s. Ozzy was let go from Black Sabbath in 1978 and 1979 following a number of years of inner turmoil and mounting worries about his drug usage. Even though it was a terrible decision to make, it would be a watershed moment in his career and life. Many thought Ozzy's time in the limelight would come to an end when he left the band. What it really marked was the start of a new chapter in his story, one that would demonstrate his strength and creative autonomy. Blizzard of Oz, Ozzy's 1980 solo debut, put the naysayers to rest right away. Ozzy was once again a formidable force after releasing smash hits like Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley. His work with Randy Rhoads, the album's guitarist, was crucial to its success, combining precise technical elements with catchy melodies. Before tragedy hit, their relationship was electric. Rhoads was killed in an aircraft accident in 1982 while on tour. On a personal and professional level, the loss was devastating. Everyone watched as Ozzy publicly lamented the loss of his creative collaborator and friend, and many worried that it would put another damper on his career. Ozzy continued to advance. He kept releasing music and performing even though he was grieving and fighting an addiction. In 1986, the song Suicide Solution was purportedly associated with a teen's suicide, which caused a significant public uproar. The accusers in Ozzy's case claimed that his songs encouraged listeners to kill themselves. The case generated a lot of buzz in the media and started a conversation about artists' accountability on a national level. Ozzy was victorious in the end because the court upheld the song's free expression protections. However, he was forever changed by the episode, and it further cemented his status as a controversial figure. Ozzy wasn't ready to slow down even though he had solidified his position in music history by 1996. He started the touring metal event Ozzfest that year, which featured both established and up-and-coming musicians. It gave up-and-coming musicians a chance to shine while maintaining Ozzy's prominence in the metal community, and the festival soon rose to the ranks of the most successful of its type. The decision to host Ozzfest was more than simply a financial move. It was a cultural statement that demonstrated the enduring popularity of heavy metal and its loyal fan base that extended across generations. Next, an entirely new innovation emerged. Ozzy, Sharon, and their children were the main characters in the Osbournes reality show that ran from 2002 to 2005. A reality show that broadcast his family's daily lives to viewers all around the globe. Offering an odd but charming glimpse into the home life of one of rock's most infamous people, the show was a huge success. Fans got to see a lighter, funnier side of Ozzy than the one they knew from his bat-biting performances. Many viewers were introduced to the father navigating daily life for the first time, revealing the man behind the myth. Stumbling through the mayhem of family life and negotiating stardom with a blend of comedy and perplexion. Many people's long-awaited dreams came true in 2006. Among Black Sabbath's inductees to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is Ozzy Osbourne. The band's seminal contribution to heavy metal's inception and the indelible impression they left on subsequent generations of artists were formally recognized with the prize. Ozzy felt a mix of emotions at his induction ceremony, which brought together his troubled history and his lauded legacy. I Am Ozzy, Ozzy's autobiography, was published in 2010, 4 years after the fact. His tumultuous climb to stardom, struggles with substance abuse, and surprising venture into reality TV were all detailed in the book. The writing was direct, amusing, and frequently brutally honest. Readers gained insight into the inner turmoil that gave rise to his colossal ego through its pages. The memoir's meteoric rise to bestseller status demonstrated that Ozzy's story was captivating even when he wasn't performing. The world found out about Ozzy's Parkinson's disease diagnosis in 2019, which explained some of his recent health issues. A series of postponements and cancellations led to the public announcement of the diagnosis. Ozzy dealt with his illness with his usual frankness and tenacity, despite the seriousness of the situation. Despite his deteriorating health and mobility, he persisted in making music and made it plain that he wasn't finished yet. Following a series of surgeries in 2022 and 2023, Ozzy's capacity to perform live was severely diminished as a result of spinal problems. His public appearances consequently diminished. Whenever he did address an audience, he typically did it while seated or by way of pre-recorded remarks. His legion of devoted followers persisted in their decades-long devotion to him. The tremendous physical toll that his decades-long profession had placed on him was highlighted by his profound absence from the stage, which was also greatly felt. Then, in 2025, Ozzy returned to the city of his birth, Birmingham, to play his last live performance. He gave a moving performance that was equal parts farewell and celebration while seated because of his health problems. The occasion was significant and filled with emotion for the supporters. The Prince of Darkness had completed a full circle by the time he was in his late 70s. Illness, grief, and early rejection didn't deter him from becoming an icon who had given his all to his art and his audience. After a remarkable life full with professional achievements and physical struggles, Ozzy Osbourne's darkest scandals came to a close with his last sitting performance in Birmingham in 2025. His success was important, but the scandals and tumultuous times that contributed to his notoriety were equally formative. Osbourne was more than simply a rock star to his legion of admirers and detractors. He personified defiance, instability, and, at times, shocking antics. As history looks back on his life and work, it can't help but mention the numerous scandals and controversies that shaped public perception of him and sparked heated discussions for years. Ozzy Osbourne's 1982 bat-biting episode is widely considered to be one of the most notorious moments of his career. Reports indicate that Osbourne allegedly bit the head off of a rubber bat that he took to be a fan-thrown object during his performance in Des Moines, Iowa. The fact that it was genuine solidified his reputation as a public agitator, regardless of his intentions. Ozzy said afterwards that he got rabies vaccinations and other emergency medical care. But by then his reputation had taken a nosedive and his mythology had begun to take root. In an effort to generate notoriety, he had caused a comparable issue a year prior during a meeting with CBS Records by chewing the head off a dove. It shocked the audience and led to a ban from the record company. Even when he was with animals, his conduct was unpredictable. San Antonio, Texas was the site of Ozzy's 1982 arrest. Given the site's historical significance, the people was outraged by the conduct. A 10-year ban from San Antonio was imposed on him due to the extremely provocative nature of the deed. Even after he publicly donated to the Daughters of the Republic of Texas and issued an apology, the episode continued to play a significant role in his public narrative. The fact that Osbourne confessed to hurting animals during a severe drug-induced psychotic episode, an incident he would later characterize with profound regret and horror, was perhaps even more disturbing. He blamed his mental instability and addiction for the occurrence, classifying it as a low period in his life. The boundaries between stage shock and real-life extremes have frequently been blurred in the rock scene, but this instance transcended stage antics into something deeper. Substance misuse was a persistent and devastating problem for Osbourne. He fought alcoholism and drug addiction for decades, spending time in rehab on many occasions. Supporters and loved ones saw the gradual decline in his mental health as they attributed these concerns for his erratic conduct, memory lapses, and slurred speech. His longtime manager and wife, Sharon Osbourne, was instrumental in supporting his sobriety efforts, even though he knew it would be difficult. A very concerning outcome of his addiction was his 1989 arrest for domestic assault. During one of his blackout episodes, he grew aggressive against Sharon. Afterwards, he admitted he had no recollection of what had happened. After Ozzy sought treatment, Sharon decided to withdraw the accusations. She stayed because of his dedication to recovery. His actions reached a breaking point in the 1980s, prompting a commitment for psychiatric evaluation. Even Osbourne admitted he couldn't place many details from that time period, depicting those days as the lowest point in his life. Despite his professional accomplishment during this time, his health and relationships were at danger. Throughout his career, he was also dogged by legal issues. The tragic death of a teenager in 1986 led to a highly publicized lawsuit against him. According to his relatives, Ozzy's song, Suicide Solution, was a factor in what happened. The victim's loved ones claimed the music glorified self-harm. The court ruled that the lyrics were too imprecise to be considered incitement, and hence the lawsuit was dismissed under the First Amendment safeguards. The scandal only served to further establish Ozzy as a controversial artist whose music sparked serious moral discussions. Money and credit disputes also persisted throughout Osbourne's career. Several of his partners and former bandmates sued him for unpaid royalties and songwriting credits, particularly from when he was just starting out on his own. Osbourne and his management were accused by musicians like Bob Daisley and Lee Kerslake of denying them the respect and remuneration they deserved for their substantial contributions to albums such as Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. The original musicians' contributions were largely erased when Osbourne released the albums in 2002 with new instrumental recordings. The original recordings were eventually restored as a result of the criticism. The truth about Ozzy Osbourne is revealed by Gene Simmons. As soon as word got out of Ozzy Osbourne's death, Gene Simmons came forward with the facts, changing the way the world remembers a legend. On CBS Mornings, Simmons paid tribute in a very personal way, expressing shock, sadness, and adoration all at once. Looking back on their decades-long friendship, which started backstage in 1975 when Kiss opened for Black Sabbath, he described Ozzy as an innocent, non-judgmental human being. Simmons became visibly emotional in the CBS interview as he revealed that he first believed the news of Ozzy's death was false. "I was fooled into thinking it was TikTok's psychobabble until I realized the terrible truth." He stressed once again that Ozzy was unique. What Simmons really meant was that he was a giant who was always genuine. He was just an interesting and charming human being. Simmons remembered the friendly faces they had met in the beginning. One particular recollection was quite striking. Backstage at a modest Boston venue in 1975, Ozzy walked up to him and offered a polite salutation. Only true generosity remains. In stark contrast to the untamed theatrical character for which Ozzy became famous, Simmons was amazed by how sincere Ozzy was. Simmons sobbed as she pondered on Ozzy's impact as a musician and frontman during her interview with Piers Morgan. Ozzy did not exist prior to his arrival. He went on to say that Ozzy's impact on rock was unparalleled and fundamental, and that scientists refer to it as a singularity. Simmons characterized Ozzy's farewell concert, which took place in Birmingham a few weeks before he passed away, as startling and poignant when questioned about it. As he bid farewell to his iconic persona, Ozzy performed from a winged throne. Before hearing the terrible news a few days later, Simmons said he had no idea his condition was bad. He extended his deepest sympathies to Sharon and their children, as well as paying tribute to Ozzy's family. "My heart goes out to Sharon and the kids," he said, reflecting on how Ozzy took genuine interest in others. When you meet someone extraordinary, this was a pure human being. But Simmons did not stop there. In an interview with NBC LA, the KISS co-founder expanded on Ozzy's dual nature, the ferocious Prince of Darkness on stage, and a grounded, loving friend once the lights dimmed. Rock god Gene Simmons remembered the godfather of heavy metal as a one-of-a-kind performer who was a menacing presence on stage and a warm-hearted, thoughtful friend and family man when the show was over. Simmons told NBC LA he was grief-stricken after learning the messages popping up on his phone were true, that Ozzy Osbourne had died at age 76. The stunning news had come only weeks after a powerful farewell performance with fellow rock stars and some 40,000 fans in Ozzy's hometown of Birmingham. It said, "Ozzy's dead. I thought it was fake news," Simmons recalled. "About a week ago, Ozzy seemed healthy. He was at the concert. Yes, he was in a chair, but all the energy, he was still Ozzy." That final performance with Ozzy sitting regally on stage was a last glimpse of a titan doing what he loved, even as his body was giving out. Simmons expressed disbelief that someone so full of energy just days before could now be gone. It was a sharp reminder of the fragility of legends, even those who once seemed immortal. Through all the ups and downs of stardom, Osbourne remained an original. Simmons drove that point home clearly. Before Ozzy, there wasn't such a thing as Ozzy. He was what scientists call a singularity, he said. Somehow he sprang out of nowhere. Not from New York or Paris, some fancy city. He came from the industrial town of Birmingham. He was just a regular guy. Even as Ozzy climbed to unimaginable heights of fame and notoriety, Simmons noted, he stayed humble. Yes, on stage, the Prince of Darkness, loving father, dedicated husband. Most people break up their families, especially men, and abandon their families. He was a stand-up guy who treated the Queen of England the same way he would treat his next-door neighbor.